Welcome to the Mad About Wayne podcast from the Wayne County Historical Society in Wayne County, Georgia. We hope this time together is informative, educational, and maybe even a little entertaining. Mad About Wayne is brought to you by ProSonics Audio Engineering. Now, let's get into today's Mad About Wayne podcast.
Here we go. We're back again for episode 11 of our Mad About Wayne podcast, a production of ProSonics Audio Engineering and the Wayne County Historical Society. And we have a really great podcast idea for you today. We're going to do movers and shakers in old Wayne County who got things done and still have lasting impact on the community that is Wayne County. We're going to do Christopher Columbus Grace from Scriven, which is going to be my topic, and I am Janet Royal, because last time I didn't tell anybody who I was, and I don't feel like anybody cared that I didn't say who I was, but nobody but Mark, anyway. And then over to my left, we have Sherry Milikin, who is here representing the Milikins. And Ben Milikin, say hello, Sherry.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And then we have Courtney Gibbs-Tyre, one of our regulars who's here. She has to always be here. She's kind of like Melba and the Bennetts. She's Courtney with the Whaleys and the Clarys and everybody else. And then we have live and on the phone from Bella Vista, Arkansas.
Yes.
Bella Vista, Arkansas. What county is that?
Benton
County, Arkansas. We have Florrie Dean Hopkins, who is going to talk to us about how the Hopkins got here. So we're ready to get started. Y'all ready, ladies?
Ready when you are.
I don't know. I'm worried about Courtney and that book. I might have to take it away from her.
I'm listening.
Okay. So I'm going to do Christopher Columbus Grace. And Christopher Columbus Grace is one of the Graces that Lake Grace got here. But Lake Grace was named for H. Lindsay Grace, who was actually Captain Grace's grandson. And Captain Grace was not a captain. Captain Grace was a lieutenant in the Confederate Army. He served in the Stonewall Jackson Brigade, and he, like somebody else in the room, he ended up a Confederate prisoner of war. He was taken prisoner in Spotsylvania, Virginia. Virginia wasn't a good place for Wayne County people to go, was it, Courtney?
No.
It was not. So
Sometimes
he was
they
taken
didn't come
captive
back.
at Spotsylvania in 1862. And come to find out, his brother Thomas was killed at Fredericksburg. And I didn't know that until recently. But Captain Grace came. He was from Tattnall County. He came to what was then Appling County and later became Wayne County in 1872 when the county line changed. But he came to Scriven from Appling County by way of Valdosta and Lowndes County. And he was maybe a robber baron, a land baron. He was a tyrant. He was very hard. The family members have told me that he was very, very hard to get along with. He had 4 sons and 2 daughters, and his house is still standing. When you go through Scriven and go past Nine Run Road on out toward the right, his house is standing there. Lindsay Thomas, who was his grandson Lindsay Grace's nephew by marriage with the Thomas family. He has that house. The house is still standing, and we visit it from time to time. When he passed away in 1918, I went through, I like to go through the real estate. I like to read deeds because I'm weird, and that's just kind of what I do. But we went through and looked at his transactions, and he had 198 transactions where he was the grantor, and he had 149 transactions where he was the grantee. And what I was told about him in Scriven is that he would sell property to people that he didn't think could pay for it. And when they didn't pay for it, he would take it back and he would keep their money and he would keep the land. So he sold the land to John Andrew Aspinwall that became Ulmer, the community of Ulmer, which is where the Aspinwalls still live. The second road to the left when you go out Nine Run Road. And he sold John Andrew Aspinwall where the slaughterhouse used to be. That was Ulmer, or that is Ulmer. Well, when John Andrew Aspinwall paid him his last payment on the land, Captain Grace reportedly said, "Johnny, if I'd known you were going to pay me, I wouldn't ever sold it to you." So he was just an all-around good guy. He disowned Benjamin Franklin Grace, his son Benjamin Franklin Grace. He disowned because he didn't like the way he lived his life, and he didn't like the way that he treated his wife and his child. And this was Lindsay Grace's father. And when I read the will, I had to print this because I had to read this because it's so funny. It's so everything that I've ever heard about Captain Grace. And this is from his will where he amended it in 1904. "I, the undersigned, for as I think good reasons have, erased Benjamin Franklin Grace's name in this my last will and inserted the name of his wife and son, Minnie Grace, his wife, and Lindsay Grace, his son. I do this as I have sufficiently tried to do something with Benjamin F. Grace, my son, and I find that it will not have anything that works. In some way unknown to me, everything he comes into goes through his hands, and he has nothing to show for it." So he wrote Benjamin Franklin Grace out of the will and put Minnie Tweedy Grace, who was Benjamin's wife. In the 1900 census, they have her listed as a widow. But he's actually listed in New Orleans Parish in 1900. He was there having a good time. He, the two daughters, he had Louise and Harriet, who they called Hattie. And he later, in this will, he left her $1,000, but he didn't like that she married a banker. He didn't want his daughter to have interest or knowledge of what was going on with his bank account, so he didn't talk to her for a long time. But when he passed away, he did leave her $1,000. When he in the will, it has 17 parcels of land. He identified individually over 400,000 acres in different places that he owned land, and the Grace estate still has a large amount of land in the Scriven area. He had an interest in the Savannah Grocery Company. He had an interest in a shoe factory that he actually went to Brunswick and had moved to Waycross. He had a cotton gin, of course. Everybody had a cotton gin. He had 2 cotton gin fires, and one fire was estimated to the value of the loss was $5,000, which was a whole lot of money in 1886. And in 1886 is when he had the transaction with Miss Lucinda, where they traded. How many greats? Well, count on your fingers. That's why you got them. I mean, you got on sandals? I didn't notice your feet when you came. 7th great-grand.
I think 7th.
Anyway, they did some kind of transaction for the East Georgia and Florida Railroad, which I don't know a lot about. I'm going to have to figure that out. But he had dealings with the Savannah, Florida, and Western Railroad, which still runs in front of his house today. So that one didn't surprise me. But the land that the 3 churches are on in Scriven, Salem Primitive Baptist, the Scriven Methodist Church, and the Scriven Missionary Baptist Church, they were all Grace properties. And people always said he gave the land. He did not. He charged them $10 each. So he was not like Ben Milikin gave away land, but Captain Grace did not. So he was an interesting character. He we still have visits from some of his descendants. They come to Scriven from time to time to look at the home place. And Lindsay Thomas is always very gracious and lets them do that. The land that the school is on is Grace property. The land that the ball field is on is Grace property. If it ceases to be used in the manner in which it was given, it goes back to the Grace estate, which Lindsay and his brother Jim operate today. Kind of like y'all with the whatever the name of your company, Williamson.
Well, we've got Mavama and Williamson Development.
So
with Whaley stuff.
Yeah, so that's how that goes with Captain Grace. And I left off the Immortal 600. It's a good thing I didn't pass it off to one of y'all, isn't it? You having a good time, Sherry?
Loads.
Sherry's. Anyway, Captain Grace, when he was captured at Spotsylvania, but he was later sent to a prison in Charleston, where he became a part of the Immortal 600. And what the Yankees did, no offense to anybody listening that's a Yankee, but I don't know what else to call them, people from the North, they used them as a human shield. And the Confederate Navy was off in the Charleston Harbor trying to bomb the Yankees out of it, and they would move the officers where they thought where the bombs were going, where the cannonballs were going. And they became the Immortal 600. And he was one of those. He is buried on the front row of the Scriven Cemetery in a mausoleum. He's got the Grace family is there all in a row. And it's easy to see them. He died when he was 82 years old. And his will is probably about 7 handwritten pages long. Very nice handwriting. I think she must have written it. Mary Jane Reddish was her name. And he was the postmaster in Scriven about 1880. But he was in the 1870 census. He was still in Appleton County. So we think he got here about 1872.
Okay. Now, when you said that about the Immortal 600, that was a couple of podcasts ago. Maybe it's when we did the soldiers and we talked about Captain Grace. I hadn't really ever read about that, and I read about it the other day. That was awful.
That was one
of
the first times that humans were used as shields at a time of war. It's kind of like the Battle of Doctortown Trestle, which has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about, but still, first time guerrilla warfare was used.
Yeah.
Because they would go across the trestle at night.
Oh, I was watching Glory. That's what it was, and I was looking up the story about, the 54th and all that, and I was asking, what fort they had filmed stuff at, and the fort that they had used them as the human shield came up. That's what it was. It was.
They did that. They filmed at the Savannah Train Museum also. I watched about 10 minutes of Glory, and that was about all I could give them.
Really?
Does it get better when they get through cutting off people's legs?
Yeah.
I didn't like that part. So,
no.
Anyway. All right. Who's going next? Anything else about Captain Grace? Got his picture. Of course, you can't see it on a podcast. But that's all right.
We've got to start videoing this and putting it on YouTube.
Absolutely not. We've had this discussion.
Oh, excuse me.
Previously.
I don't care what I look like. People already know who I am. So
I wouldn't have been here today if it was on video.
I look bad enough in person. I don't want to be broadcast somewhere else.
I did have a bath. I don't have a makeup, but oh well.
That's important to know.
I thought so.
Yep. All right, hit it.
All right, so I'm Courtney Gibbs Tyre, for those that have to middle name me. And I was going to talk about Willis Clary and his wife, Lucinda Hall, and then his daughter and the Whaleys. Well, excuse me, stepdaughter. So Willis Clary came, he was born, actually, we shared a birthday, April 21st, except for he's like way older than I am. He was born in 1833. And he was in that area where Holmesville and Odom are. And it was a part of Appleton County at the time. And, now it's part of Wayne. He's not really, the only thing he's really known for is his business transactions here in Wayne County. He was big instrumental into getting the railroad to come through here when it was Station 6. He was the one that was friends with Thomas R. Jessup.
James R. Jessup.
Sorry, James R. Jessup, excuse me. Yeah, the Jessup mystery.
The Jessup.
Anyway, they were friends, and that's how we got the railroad here. And he was instrumental in paying to have the city of Jessup surveyed, not landscaped. And their house was lot number 1, which is where Harris and Company CPA is now. That's part of the original house. The original house, the top part actually burned, and Janet's mother was working next door when that happened and saved a lot of documents that were being thrown out the top because they thought it was kindling for the fire. So along and along, I get family things back that Janet finds, which I'm grateful for.
I know,
Thank
isn't
you.
that sad? My mother's been gone all these years, and I'm still finding her stuff. That tells you about my housekeeping.
But I'm thankful Miss Malvia saved what she did because I just think it is so cool.
Well, let me just say that she saved it because she didn't think it was anybody's business, and she wanted to control who had it.
Right. Well, that's good.
That's what Mama did.
Nobody would get much out of it these days, but even if you got something of mine, you wouldn't get much out of it these days. But he was best friends with I guess, what do we say, my seventh great-grandfather, Osgood Andrew Lee, who ended up in Virginia at the Battle of Seven Pines. And before he left for war, he made Clary promise that if something happened to him, that he would marry his wife at the time, Lucinda Hall Lee. Her father was Seaburn Hall out of Appling County, and he was very well known, had a lot of land. And he made that promise. Well, Battle of Seven Pines, Osgood got killed. He didn't make it back. So, yes, Virginia was a bad place. And I will find him one day. It might be a mass grave, but that's my mystery of life right now. And anyhow, so he ended up marrying Lucinda. And Osgood was actually really good friends, from what I was told, and served with Ben Milikin. That's like the first time I ever met your sister. We were in 5th grade, and I said, "Oh, Sheila, guess what?" And she's like, "What?" I said, "Our great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers were friends." And she was like, "I don't even know." Okay.
You knew this stuff back in the 5th grade?
I loved it. My grandmother told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, my God." So I was like, it's destined. We're all supposed to be friends throughout the generations. But anyhow, so Willis moved the family. It was Lucinda and her 3 children, Joseph, who is Stanton Lee's, which is the late Pastor Jack Lee's great-grandfather, I think. Joseph was his great-grandfather, wasn't he?
Stanton was Jack's daddy.
Right, and I think Joseph was Stanton's grandfather.
Daddy. Yeah, that makes him grandfather.
Yeah, okay, great-grandfather.
Joseph Seaburn to Stanton to Jack.
I think Stanton was Joseph
Jr.
Lee. Yeah, he was.
Okay.
That was his grandfather. Lucinda would have been his great-great-grandmother. See what I'm saying? I think Joseph's son was named Joseph. Then they had Stanton.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Joseph Jr.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Anyway.
I repeat Joseph Jr., but that's all right.
That
She's
is.
going to have to use her fingers.
And Joe, Jack's brother's still with us. Right.
Yeah, he's Joe.
So he has carried on the family name. But that's that line. And then Helen, who was killed by being thrown off a horse.
She was thrown off a horse.
Bless her heart. And then my 6th great-grandmother, Georgia Buena Vista, Janet's favorite name, Lee. He moved them over here, and we called her Mother Whaley. Mother Whaley was actually 9 months when her father was killed, so she was only a little over 1 year old when they moved to Jessup and lived in the house. And so he was instrumental in getting things going. I saw something recently where his name was listed in some business documentation from the railroad going to the Brunswick ports. And that was well before he died in 1885. And so he was a big-time businessman. And he actually got in business with Mother Whaley's soon-to-be father-in-law and her husband, Harry Whaley and W.H. Whaley. And they had Whaley and Sons downtown, the merchants, and they started the merchant bank. They had their general store. They built up to what we have now, which is the corner lot. Well, I say lot. The when you're coming down Cherry Street going towards, I guess, Damon's, I guess you'd say, when you come over the railroad, the right side of the road, that big brick building all the way down to Sykes Tactical, and this little stucco building where Geek Stop and all those people are, that's all Whaley property. We have several businesses. We've tried to consolidate really to just that area. We do still have some around town, like the corner when you first come into town, coming from Brunswick, things like that. But we really focus on the larger buildings because when you have a lot of stuff spread out, it's a lot. And Mother Whaley had a lot of stuff spread out.
She had a lot of stuff.
She gave a lot of land to churches. She gave the land for Cracker Williams, First Baptist, First Methodist. I think she gave land to the old, is it the Episcopal Church right there next to Calvary? Isn't that Episcopal?
Yeah, that's the Milikin Church.
Oh, okay. She gave the land for that. And she gave some on Pine Street to another church. And we did, in the first library right there across from Landon's and New China. And it, like you said, like Captain Grace, there was the thing about if it wasn't used to what it was originally meant to be, then it would go back to the estate. Well, Uncle Dunk changed that, but that's fine. It's still being used today. Matter of fact, my cousins on my daddy's side have it, the Dixons. And so she was a real big philanthropist, and I think she got that from watching what her husband and Willis Cleary did. And sadly, Willis didn't have any descendants because he treated Lucinda's kids as his. And it was his brother Upton, or you said UC, is who we hear a lot more about because his descendants can be traced back. And he had all six. Could you imagine 6 boys in a house? That's no girls. They had 6 boys, and most of your Clarys in this area, from Scriven all the way to Odom, can be traced back to Willis's parents, Upton and Sarah. But anyhow.
Well, Willis was, when we did Gone for a Soldier, whatever, I don't know what episode number that was, but when we did Gone for a Soldier, we talked about Willis a little bit. But Willis actually wanted to serve, but he had broken his leg as a child, and whoever said it didn't set it right. So he had a perpetual limp, and he was not able to be a foot soldier, but he was in the Quartermaster Corps. So he had good business sense, even coming through the time of the war. But he had that limp, and he was, I think that she was, I'm going to not give her credit for watching them. She was just a smart person. Mother Whaley was just brilliant.
She was.
She was quite the businesswoman on her own. And when we were looking, I like to look at those deeds. And she gave right away to the city of Jessup. I don't think they could have paved a road or put a sidewalk in if she had not given them the land to do it. But she did the land from Jessup Presbyterian over. That was one of the easements I saw over to Bay Street for right away for paving. So she was quite the lady. She liked to give things away.
She ended up living in that house until she passed away on the corner. She and her husband lived in the same house as her mother and Willis Cleary. And her husband was actually what you refer to all the time as a carpetbagger.
Yes.
Coming down from, I think, Pennsylvania is where they came from. And Mama, who, I'm not going to tell you your age, Jeannie, but she looks really great for her age. I will say that much. But Mama tells me stories all the time about Mother Whaley, and she remembers her. She was young when she died. Mother Whaley was 90, I won't say 96 when she died. She died in the 50s. She was born in 1861. And Mama says that, she learned how to drive in that when she got older. And I mean, they just spent a lot of time at that house. And she would get in. They passed the house on to her grandmother, Georgia Williamson. And I think she's going to say, no, you're wrong. But anyway, Mama said she can remember getting in that car and she would drive forward because, it's a crescent shape or circular drive. She would drive forward to one end and then she'd put it in reverse and she'd drive backwards to the other end. She'd put it in forward and she'd drive forward. That's how Mama learned to drive, was in that little circular driveway. And she remembered when Mother Whaley died, when Mr. Neesmith came over and they prepared her. And Mom said, I know this sounds morbid, but I was trying to see what they were doing because they prepared her in the house because that's what you did. And they had Mother Whaley in the front room and
sitting up with the dead.
People came,
that's where that came from.
And she was friends with, we talked about Anna E. Hall, the African-American missionary had a lot of ties to Jessup and went to Africa. Which was unusual at the time for black ladies and white ladies to be that close. And I do believe we've been cleaning some of my grandmother's house out some, and my grandmother was like I am. We don't throw anything out. But I found a book that was written by a missionary from Africa, and a Methodist missionary, sorry. And, I mean, I can only imagine.
I don't know that you should interchange those words. Just work on that missionary.
Okay. But I believe that it came from Annie Hall. I think that was one thing that she brought back from her.
And that's the Hall of Hall Richardson.
Right. So.
Yeah, but she was she was quite a businesswoman all in her own right. Georgia Buena Vista was. She was the president of the Merchants and Farmers Bank after the husband passed. William Henry was that his name? I can't ever remember his name. I know it was W.A.
No, hers was her husband was Harry.
Harry, okay.
William Henry was his father.
Okay. Well, she was the
one from
president of
England.
the bank before she could vote.
Yes. Yes.
So that was just
she did a lot. I mean, considering.
And she didn't. When she was dealing with people that didn't know her, she would sign her checks G.B. Whaley. She didn't write Mrs. She wrote G.B. Whaley, so they didn't necessarily. She was an acute businesswoman, and Whaley Road, way out Bethlehem Road. I mean, they were like the other people that we were talking about with the Grace and
Whaley Lake,
and all that, and. Sorry about that, y'all. If it wasn't Whaley, it was Milikin or it was Hopkins, and we got Florrie still hanging on, I hope. So that was our big landowner.
I had forgot, and for those trivia people, Willis was the first mayor of Jessup.
Yes, he paid to have the town surveyed.
That was one of the trivia questions a few years ago on Facebook. Who was the first, and you could win whatever tickets or something. And I was like, oh, I can't answer that, but I know it. But yeah, so we've had a lot, especially I've always heard about our family and the Milikins and the Hopkins all my life. Sorry, Sherry, I've known this for a long time.
Yes, you have.
The kin people that you have that through the generations, I'm first generation Wayne County. So I have no, y'all sit here and talk about your way back person. Oh, he was born in 1838. Oh, she was born in 1861. Well, we're here.
We're glad to have you.
And if you want to talk about ours, we're going to go to Darlington and Chesterfield County, South Carolina, and we're going to go to Tattnall County. But we don't have those. We don't have those Wayne County roots. We just had Mama, who was a genealogist and a historian, and that I ended up having to drive the ladies around because they couldn't drive at night, and so I picked them up. But we do not have what y'all have, and I consider it a treasure. But we do in Darlington County, and that's why I drive fast. And nobody thinks that's a legal reason to not get a ticket. But when you have Darlington County DNA, you drive fast.
I must have some Darlington
story.
blood.
So anyway. What, anybody else you want to talk about in your family in the world of large acreage?
Like I said, our families have been friends. Well, we've been friends with the Hopkins for a long time, and my sister, matter of fact, went to school with Tim. So, Allison Braddock.
There you go.
So, yeah, we've been friends with Milikins. Oh, goodness. We're being shown our time.
We'll take a break at this time and hear a message from our sponsor. And we'll also do a shout out to our host for All We Got.
The Mad About Wayne podcast from the Wayne County Historical Society in Wayne County, Georgia, is brought to you by ProSonics Audio Engineering. From radio and podcast production to the recovery, restoration, and enhancement of tape recordings, video soundtracks, and phone recordings, ProSonics Audio Engineering is your go-to for all things audio. For more information, call or text 912-297-9911 or email prosonics@icloud.com. ProSonics, the science of sound.
All right, we're back from break, and we want to give a shout out to Mark with ProSonics Audio Engineering for being our podcast
Yay,
recorder.
Mark.
Yay. And producer and fixer-upper. And our great niece, who's in vet school at the University of Georgia, thinks that it's the most incredible thing that she's ever had to experience that her aunt and uncle do podcasts. She just thinks that's wonderful. And we shout out to WIFO, Jessup Broadcasting, Butch Hubbard, for allowing us to use his studio for our recordings. That's why we sound so professional. We have great support behind us with the Wayne County Historical Societies. So we're going to move right along with Sherry and Ben Milikin, and we're going to, she's first-time podcaster?
Yes, first time.
But she's how many years a teacher? Go ahead and tell me. Go ahead and break my heart.
She's got more than I do.
I'm starting year 30.
Starting year 30. Yeah. She was mine.
Next week.
She was mine when I was principal at Arthur Williams Middle School, which was just a few years down the road.
And I substituted in her room.
Really.
Yeah, that was scary.
I'm very glad that she agreed to do it. The Milikins have long been established in Wayne County. So let's hear what you got to say about being in. And I know between the two of us, Florrie, are you in the know on being Milikin?
No, not really.
Okay, it'll just be me and Courtney. And
y'all-
Florrie might can learn something while we're going. All right,
Well,
hit
y'all
it,
jump in
girlfriend.
at any time because my father died over 20 years ago, and so I've just been closest to my mom's side of the family. So I'm just gonna,
Frederick died over 20 years ago.
That's
yeah.
hard to believe.
Oh my gosh. Does time get away from you or what? Ain't it funny how time slips away? I think Willie Nelson said that. He spoke at our church
And
one
Nana,
time.
his mother, she died 6 months before he did, and so, just
And she
haven't
was a-
really had an opportunity in many years to talk to
remember
anybody
the day I
much
met
about
her,
our
too.
family.
Well, let's see what we can do now because I know I rode by your mother's home. I rode by the Walker house on my way to McDonald's the other day. So there you go. All right, let's hear it.
I
Sissy.
loved that house.
I know it needs to be you again, doesn't it? So,
I wish it could be. So anyway, I'm Sherry Milikin. I'm here to talk to you about Captain Ben Milikin. He was born in 1842 and died in 1921. He was born in Appling County, but he did die in Jessup. He served in Company 1 of the 27th Georgia Regiment, where he enlisted in Holmesville and Appling County, which at the time was the county seat. He was wounded in the battle at I can't say that one.
Antietam?
Yep, that one.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
where he was wounded.
I made an A in Civil War history.
And,
Imagine.
I have to brag on those A's. They didn't come along. Well, yeah, they did.
he had a friend who dragged him off the battlefield and placed him under a tree, and he was taken prisoner by the Yankees, who later gave him back to the South through a prisoner exchange. He walked with a crutch and later with a cane until he thought he was well enough to re-enlist, even though he had been furloughed because there was nothing he could do in the Army anymore. In the spring of 1864, he and some others joined together to form Company E 6th Regiment of the Georgia Reserves, who gathered up the work to protect Savannah in that area. It really didn't work out well. Sherman came through in December of 1864, and Captain Ben Milikin was again taken prisoner, where he was released in June of 1865. He was a commander at Camp Harrison, which is a Civil War training camp that was located in Scriven in 1861, and it's
Captain
now
Grace's.
part of the Grace
Yeah.
Estate.
How about that?
He came home to Wayne County and he married Martha Hops, who's the daughter of Daniel Gibson Hops. They had 15 children. Sadly, only six died in infancy. So the children grew up to marry and have many Wayne County relatives with surnames such as Thomas, Wilkins, Burns. By the way, thank you for letting me know that Joanne and I are related. She's she's literally in the office next to me at work.
Did
So I was
she
like, hey,
know?
Joanne.
Did she know?
She knew the names, but I don't think she actually she said she had heard it before, but didn't quite remember it until I brought it up again. So that's kind of cool. Madry was another surname. And of course, Milikin. Let's see. All of these people were affiliated with St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Jessup, which was established primarily through the efforts of Fanny, who also founded the Milikin School for Girls. So I guess it was just kind of in my DNA to be a teacher. Let's see.
That was a sad day when we lost the Milikin building, but we lost it to progress. Jessup really wasn't that good at historic preservation side, but I remember that building. I remember that house. That was the Milikin School for Girls.
Well, what's it used for now?
It was for Omaha Credit Union, somewhere in that neighborhood, I believe, or it could have been one of those other banks. What's Ginger Proudfoot's bank?
I don't know.
Starts with an R now. Renaissance.
Something. Anyway, might have been on that corner.
That's
My memory is foggy.
So Ben Milikin had a lot of real estate in Wayne County and the surrounding counties. He had land dealings with W.H. Whaley and his son. He gifted land to the Omaha Baptist Church. He sold the land on Macon Street, which is where my daddy grew up, actually, on Macon Street, to what would have become Jessup's First Baptist Church. He made sure his children were all left property, and there were many recorded transactions of deeds transferring property from him to his children. He was the owner of the Jessup Sentinel for over 35 years. He brought his son Richard into the family business, and he and Richard both served on the Jessup City Commission. Richard's name as a councilman is on the old water tower in Jessup. Ben was also a tax assessor and a member of the Jessup Board of Education. He had real estate transactions with Whaley Bank, the Merchants, and the Farmers Bank. Let's see. He died in 1921, and his obituary was published in the Atlanta Constitution, something that was only done for people of great stature. So that was kind of cool.
And that's unusual because they didn't print obituaries then like they do now.
No.
And when Captain Grace died in 1918, I don't know about the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, but I found a copy of his obit from the Macon Telegraph. So they were important enough that they got reported in the big newspapers. But I don't know how to say this and it not sound mean, but Ben didn't figure out how to stay home, did he? You're gonna get shot in the leg and drug under a tree.
Maybe that's why you like to travel so much.
Maybe that's in my DNA.
Well, at least he didn't got shot under the
That's
tree.
true.
And then he walks with a crutch and a cane, and he signs back up to be something else. So.
I was looking this in the book that we've got, the tell-all book, and it was saying that he fought through Williamsburg and Seven Pines, and was wounded and captured at Sharpsburg. I don't know.
They're still in Virginia.
Yeah, I know. It's all Virginia. Virginia's a bad place for us.
Sharpsburg, that's Antietam Creek.
Oh, okay.
Sharpsburg, the Yankees would call it by the town, and the South would call it by the rivers.
We always like water.
Or vice versa, something like that, because Antietam and Sharpsburg is the same battle.
That's what kills me is that how, everybody... The North calls things different from what we did, like we said.
Well, they only had the maps. They didn't know it was the town, and that was Maryland, Sharpsburg, Maryland.
Okay. Well, aren't we glad she's here today?
I don't know.
I'll tell you, I forgot what I was going to say, though, so I can't tell you.
It did say that he had a love. I'm trying to read without my glasses as close as I can.
You're mighty young for that.
Well, I'm at that age, and I refuse to get graduated. So... it says Milikin also loved horses and used every opportunity to express the beauty of the beast in his newspaper. Even when he was more than 60 years old, his choice bits of news for the Sentinel were his reports of the saddle races in Jessup on Saturday afternoons.
We were a happening place. Who wrote that, Courtney?
It doesn't say. There's no...
Okay. Must have come somebody from the Press Sentinel must have done it because they did
somebody on
they did the
Facebook
whole
was
book.
Talking about Jessup having a racetrack the other day.
Yeah, I saw him. I'm a little suspicious of some people, but the Westbury racetrack is right down there.
Yeah.
Right between us and Empire and Toddville. And that's where Pat and Margaret, where we went for barrel races when we were children. And
yes, I remember that.
Yes, and they had the best hamburgers.
That was near WIFO, wasn't it?
Right past it. Yeah,
the racetrack.
Because you can still see the grandstand, or is that...
You can see when they cut the trees about 5 years ago.
I remember that.
Florrie, how long have you been in Arkansas?
6 years.
6 years. About 5 years ago, they cleared those trees, and you could really see the grandstand. But Preacher Thornton, who was Sherry Thornton, Drew Thornton's daddy, he grilled the hamburgers, and all you had was a hamburger and a bun, and it was so... You didn't need the ketchup and the mustard. I don't know what was different about those hamburgers, but they were so good. So... All righty, Milikin. You happy with Milikin, or you got something else you want to share?
It also said that he fought for the claying of the roads so that the buggies and the wagons could get out of the sand and the mud. And he was the first in the view. Hang on. He was also first in the view that forest owners were not wise in their burning of the woods. So he was kind of a, yeah, he was an advanced.
If you go to the Jessup City Cemetery, and that is Milikin property. The cemetery was Milikin property, and they gave it with the understanding that the carriage, that side part that has the 2 lanes there next to whatever road that is, by
on the side where the dealership used to be?
Where the dealership used to be.
Or maybe
that was the carriage lane, and that they can't bury anybody there, and the city tried to push that point, and they backed them down. I think that was Marie when she was still, of course, she was still living. She didn't do it from the grave. I'm sorry about that, y'all. But the Milikins have a magnolia tree, and I declare that you couldn't keep that. You can't keep it clean.
Is that the one that we're buried under?
Yeah, no, they're further toward First Street than y'all are.
Okay.
On the left-hand side.
I got you.
And that's where Belle Burns is.
I got you.
And she had a beautiful name. You know, we took beautiful English names, and we made Elizabeth Lizzie. and she was named for Isabel, but she was Belle Burns, Milikin Burns, and that's Richard's grandmother.
Oh, okay.
So, and that would be Joanne's great-grandmother, unless I've skipped a generation, didn't use my fingers.
It's okay. We don't tell nobody.
But anyway.
It also said, real quick, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Florrie.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I'm reading. It's saying that
she's found her glasses, Florrie.
She graduated even when she didn't want to.
It says that Milikin served as judge of the inferior court, county revenue commissioner, school board member in Appleton County before he moved to Wayne County. So,
you know that he's one of those that Willis Clary had moved in when they annexed the 3rd and 4th land districts. I just can't imagine how anybody could be more persuasive about anything than Willis Clary. Because when you convince the Georgia legislature to move the 3rd and 4th land districts out of Appleton into Wayne, and they do it, you must be quite the talker.
And speaking of representatives, it was his wife, her father,
Daniel Gibson Hops.
Yes, he was actually a Georgia representative.
So there you go.
Sorry.
We don't have any representatives. We can't talk about our family. We could, but it wouldn't matter. So, all righty.
I'll stop.
We ready for Florrie Dean to be a Hopkins? All right,
Yes.
Florrie Dean, we ready to hear how you got here. How did the Hopkins get to Wayne County, and their prior and current affiliations with other counties? I'm sure you'll have to mention that. All right, let's hear it.
I'll do it. We started in Camden County as the Hopkins, and my middle name, which you like to use, it started with Fanny Dean. It's the Dean family back in Camden. We're from North Carolina, the first Hopkins group. They moved to Camden. Where the timber and all of that comes from would be W.C. Hopkins, Walter Colquitt. We always referred to him as Big Uncle Walter. He married Lula Mae Shepherd from Jessup. She's kin to the Harpers. A Macy Harper, as much as I can find on this. I'm sure it's a misspelling. If you remember, we went to a cemetery. Ethel Shepherd, Grandpa Alva's first wife, her last name was misspelled all over the place. Sometimes with 1 P, sometimes with 2. But there were 2 sisters, Lula Mae Shepherd and Ethel Rebecca Shepherd, and they married W.C. and Alva Hopkins. Now, W.C. stayed in Camden County, and he worked for McKinnon and Company. Right there at McKinnon, there was a sawmill, and he was the postmaster there. And he served as a postmaster at Mid River near Burnt Fort in Camden. Grandpa Alva, when he married Ethel, they moved to McKinnon also. But then when Grandpa Alva moved to Jessup it was in the mid-1920s, because my Uncle June and my Uncle Colquitt, we called him Buck, they were born at Owens Ferry, which is either in Camden or Charlton. It's somewhere close on the line. And they moved, and Aunt Ann was born there at Grangerville in 1926. So
Grangerville, where you didn't climb the fire tower?
I never did, Janet. I wanted to, but I never did. I got a switching for climbing down in the well.
Oh.
There was a well. Yeah, there's a well out there.
That's like me and never going up the trestle.
I didn't go on the
I've
trestle,
done
but
that.
I did climb that fire tower.
I didn't. Janet has tried to label me with that for years. But from what I can gather of the two houses, someone in my family, I think it was Aunt Margaret, told me that the house, they were built for two sisters. And the other one was in Hinesville, going out towards Savannah. And they were duplicate houses. They looked exactly alike. And that's the house I was brought home to from the hospital, where Aunt Ann was born, the big house at Grangerville. You remember which one I'm talking about?
I do.
Right there by the Wire Road. And all I have are pictures of it now. But I'm believing that's what those were built for. And I'm betting that's where a lot of our land came from, was what they called the Shepherd Tract. Because by marrying the two sisters, that sewed up the land. And now, where we got into with pulpwooding was when the Okefenokee burned. And Big Uncle Walter started selling the timber to Rayonier. Rayonier had just started in the mid-50s. And all of this timber, they took it and pulped it. And they had of course, we had all the naval stores too, turpentine, all of that stuff. And Big Uncle Walter and Grandpa Alva were involved in that. But mostly Big Uncle Walter. Grandpa Alva would sit on the porch and wait on lightning to strike the trees. and Ann told me that, and she said, she called Grandpa Alva, that was her daddy, but she called Big Uncle Walter Pa. She said Pa would tell him, "Let it burn. We got him insured." She said, and she said, "Your daddy would." She always said that to me about Grandpa Alva. That's my grandfather. But she said your daddy would sit there and just wait on lightning to come. He said, I said, "Well, that's the anxiety that runs in the family." But anyway, that's how we established ourselves here. And that is it.
And
that's just the whole bare bones to it.
Well, all that Hopkins land, and you still have Hopkins here. Tell that's your Aunt Ann. Is when we went to Folkestone one time. That was your
Yes.
aunt. And tell them about that connection with I can't remember the name of the company, Florrie Dean.
I can. It's called the Toledo Company.
Toledo.
This is a hoot. The reason it's called Toledo, and there is a place called Toledo between Folkestone and St. George. It was named for two brothers from Toledo, Ohio, that worked at turpentine there with them at Mid-River. So they just called it Toledo, and it still carried Hopkins' name today.
And you still
Hopkins Gowan. Yeah, the Toledo. They call it Toledo Company.
I knew it was unusual. And
yes.
I couldn't remember, though, but you still have, the lot across from Cracker Williams on Bay Street.
Yeah, my cousin Joe told me, I've seen it in the deed book, too.
Yeah.
I saw where Big Uncle Walter paid so much money for it. They forgot to include it in everybody's will. They just forgot about it. So Joe said about every 2 years that he gets a bill from Wayne County for upkeep, and he sends them the money. Joe is over all of the Hopkins stuff from Folkestone and over Grangerville. And that's Uncle June's son.
And the McKinnon part, I'm trying to remember something that when Florrie and I are exciting people. I always want y'all to understand that. When Florrie, when you turned 50, is that when we went to the cemetery? Or was that 60? I can't remember. We're old people.
Well, I go to the cemetery all the time. The one back down the road.
We were going to the Horton Shed Cemetery.
Yes.
We went to the Drawley Cemetery at Williamsburg on Sansevilla.
Yes.
We went to a cemetery down Hopewell on the Buffalo.
Yes.
And we went to the one at Jackson at Gardai. But
Yes.
we're looking for the Horton Shed. Did we know it was the Horton Shed Cemetery at the time we were hunting it?
No, I think it was, what's his name? Glenn Horton told us that that's what it was. We were he took us out there and outwalked us.
Big Earl Watson. So we're calling Reinhardt, and we're talking to Junior Bennett. We're calling people saying, "How do you get to this cemetery?" So they say go to Little Creek Road, and go off the pavement onto the dirt part, and look for the beehives by the big tree.
This
And
is our directions.
So we go past, and I said, wait, we go past the power lines. Remember, we had to go past the
Yeah.
power lines. We had to go past
Yes.
the power lines. So we go past the power lines. I said, wait. Well, I didn't know she was going to throw it in reverse and go 55
my
miles an hour
doodle bug.
backwards. I said, you're going to have to stop this car or I'm going to throw up.
Don't go any faster for you. My doodle bug, it could do it.
And we got, Big Earl came, and we turned at the beehives, and we went down to the first clearing past the big oak tree
Yeah.
and to the right. And he was walking like he was on Cherry Street. He was just walking. And
We were
going,
rolling and falling, caught in the briars, and they had one grave out there.
You are not worth this. But that's us.
But he
We
said it.
exciting people.
He said it. He said there are all kinds of graves they've just pushed down right here. And there was only that one grave showing Mary Horton or something.
And
only
then
one.
there was a Bennett, somebody with the Bennett family was affiliated with that too, but I can't remember which one. But yeah, timber companies were not kind to family cemeteries. And that's
No.
basically what we had all around the place. So, but your Hopkins are still here. It's just they're
Yeah.
still. I did not realize Burnt Fort was Camden. I thought it was Charlton.
I think
So-
it is on the line. It's Charlton, but I think it's sitting right there. The burnt fort itself and where the river comes up. I've been to the general store there. It's sitting right there in somebody's driveway. I mean, I drove up to it, but it is on the line somehow because every time I've asked, I get corrected. I said, "Well, is it in Charlton? No, it's Camden. Isn't it in Camden? No, it's Charlton." So go with Charlton.
So, well, when
Yeah.
the fire was going on, not the 82 fire, but another fire, I thought Burnt Fort was fixing to get gone because Burnt Fort is really, really pristine and well kept, and just a beautiful place. And somebody has redone the chapel there, but that's where the original Florrie Dean is.
She's laying right there.
The original Florrie Dean Hopkins, right there.
You know
but I
her-
know
and
that
the name.
that the Hopkins. I see stuff when I'm looking at deeds. I see the Hopkins property that's still here, there, and yonder around the county. So you're still
Yeah.
here in spirit if you're not here in person. But I'm trying to get her to come back home, and she ignores me.
Well, it's 150 degrees there.
Exactly, and that's
It
that's not
is.
even the heat index. Well, what's the
know.
temperature there?
Like 85.
Oh, 85
we're
at
having a cold-
11
Don't talk to
o'clock.
us.
So,
And
anyway,
there's hardly any humidity. I mean, it's like a cold snap for y'all.
That dry heat.
all righty. Are we good? Have we got anything else? Did you want to look in the little book and see if you saw anything else you needed to share, Courtney, since you found your glasses?
It's okay. I'm sure we'll do something else again.
All righty.
Well, I wanted to tell y'all, too, up there at Midway Baptist,
Okay.
that's where Grandpa Alva's first wife, Ethel's buried, and Ann's mother. And where the Tapleys are buried that I'm kin to on Eden's side, Janet Leffen.
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
And
is Ian at Guard Eye?
who?
Your
Yeah.
Granny Ian.
Eden's at Garda.
Okay.
She's right there with her daddy and her mama.
All right. That was Alva Joseph.
No,
No.
Eden's daddy was George Washington Odom.
Okay.
Eden's
All right.
husband is buried out there at Burnt Fort.
All right. Tell me what's Alva. Alva's A.J. Hopkins.
Correct.
And that is
Alva Joseph.
Alva Joseph. And then he and Walter were brothers.
Big Uncle Walter, yes.
Uncle Walter,
Remember,
okay.
we have duplicate names. Everybody's
Yeah.
got the same name.
That's a royal affliction as well.
I love
Yeah.
It's
family names.
so handy for people trying to do genealogy when you've got
Yes, it is.
a
Because
John
everybody
Royal.
they assume I'm a Florence, and I told the woman, no, my name is a derivative of Florida.
Yes, it is.
The first Florrie was Florida Satilla. She's buried there at Bonaventure.
At Bonaventure.
She
How
was
about
married
that?
to a Colonel Hornet. Her first husband was Dr. Eaton, that was murdered there in either Mid River or Burnt Fort. It's a big ghost story down there.
Oh, we need him to come to Wayne County. We need more ghosts.
I'd love to hear a good ghost story.
So I didn't know you had a Midway Church connection.
Yeah, remember we went there and I said, look at the
Yes,
the
I remember it
spelling.
now. That was one of the cemeteries.
Shepherds.
It was
Yeah.
easier to take her to a cemetery than get her to blow out her birthday candles on her cake.
Yes.
So
Well, I'm 70. Jenny, you're going to be there soon.
thank you very much for telling everybody. My Mary Kay Time Wise is working overtime with my CPAP mask, which I despise.
Oh, Lord.
So, yes, indeed. All righty. Aren't we done? Are you done now, Florrie?
I am done. Did that
Well-
help any?
You wonderful. You did a very
That was
good
great.
job, and I appreciate it.
you.
I appreciate all y'all being here, and we'll be
Yes,
back
thank y'all
with
for
episode
coming.
12 sometime soon. So,
Okay.
we'll be signing off now.
All right. Bye,
Everybody
y'all.
say bye.
Bye. We hope you enjoyed today's Mad About Wayne podcast. For more information on the Wayne County, Georgia Historical Society, please visit our Facebook page. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you receive notifications when a new episode is released. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you again soon. Remember, we're mad about Wayne.